All right, recording zone.
Oh yeah. Yo, what's up everybody? This is DGen Dads. We are back for the new NFL season. I know that two games have already gone by, or actually a whole season, and then two games into week 2.
Yep.
But um, it's never too late to start. So we're gonna finish up the week 2 slate and we're gonna start with the Bengals game. Let's see here real quick. Let me pull up what we have for that. All right, bet. So my take on the Bengals and the Jaguars game, right? Very similar to what happened Thursday night with the Packers and the Commanders. My whole thought on it was Packers came off, they beat the Lions who went to the, conference last year and they beat them bad, right? And so that's why there was a lot of hype behind the Packers. And then the Commanders, they beat the Giants, but who were the Giants, right?
Yeah.
So I have a very similar mentality with this game. Obviously, it didn't work out in the first game, but the Bengals, they looked rough against the Browns, but that Browns defense looked insane. They really did, right? And they actually had a quarterback that game, right? All of last season, it was bouncing around between three different quarterbacks, seeing who was going to fit best. And they finally found somebody who they should have kept after, he took them to the playoffs 2 years ago, but instead they traded him and bounced around quarterbacks, right? So you had a good Browns defense putting a lot of pressure on what we know the Bengals shitty O line, right?
Yep.
But now you have the Jaguars who don't have a pass rush. You have a Jaguars team who went in and they beat Carolina fair. Like it was a good game. They beat the shit out of them, right? Um,
They only had one
well,
sack last week,
they
week
only
one.
yep, they only had one sack against Bryce Young. And I think this is a spot for the Bengals to, even though they won the first game, this is a spot for them to kind of be like, all right, let's get back to normal, right? Because the fact that their tight end, their rookie tight end, or not rookie, but their new tight end
Yep.
got more
Rookie.
targets than he got more targets than Chase. It's kind of insane.
That was
So I
that
think
was
this is
crazy.
Yeah, I think this is a spot for the Bengals to get back to normal. So we have a parlay with it, but we also have some single bets to go with it. So let's bring those up real quick.
Yeah. So on that Bengals Jags game, there's a few lines we've got. Harold Fannin over 34.5 receiving yards. Like you were alluding to, he was just eating out of the slot, and maybe the defense focuses a little bit more on him this week, but that line just feels really short because he pretty much doubled it week one.
It really does, man, and it sucks because we sat there. We were like, because last year we went, and Joku was the silent killer, right? Like nobody talked about him, but he was getting the receptions, he was getting the yards, and so when you start a new season, you go back to the well that was feeding you, right? And so we all went. A lot of us went back to Njoku. I mean, I saw him get drafted a high in what's it called fantasy. So when we saw the lack of targets to Njoku and everything going to Fannin, like, all right, well, let's just jump on this train real quick. Let's see what happens, right?
Yeah, so we'll roll the dice on that, and then one of my favorite players on this list, Cedric Tillman. We've got him. Wait, that's not even the right. That's not even the right game. We're tripping. That's the fucking Browns. I'll
That's the Browns
continue.
game.
We'll continue with it.
Yeah, no, yeah, we'll continue to that one.
Cedric, yeah,
The-
Cedric Tillman.
Yeah.
Four.
There's not really much on the Bengals game we really have. We had I think we combined that with a Cam Ward bet. Let me see here real quick. Yeah, that's so funny. We're bringing it back first time, so we're a little sloppy on this.
Yeah, this one it was Noah Fant. That's what we had.
Yeah, Noah Fant.
2.5 receptions. He he almost played double the snaps of Gasicki
Yep.
and had 4 receptions, so 2.5. Even our plus money felt like a strong bet.
It felt like a strong bet. The other one that I was actually thinking about was Joe Burrow. So if you go on Prize Picks right now, right, you have the Kelsey free over half receiving yards, and so what we paired that up with was a Joe Burrow over 1.5 pass touchdowns, which is a Green Goblin. If you guys know Prize Picks, Green Goblin, it's it's one of the easier ones to hit. This offense really revolves around him. He's not one to tuck and run into the end zone. So it's really between him passing it and what's his name?
Chase Brown.
Yeah, Brown going in going in into the end zone, right? So we all know Cincinnati's a high scoring team, a fast paced team. They're going to have a lot of opportunities. I'm not worried about Joe Burrow getting 1.5 pass TDs, and obviously the Travis Kelsey is zero point 0.5 receiving yards. So this is a good way to kind of start the day with a cushion for the upcoming bets, right?
Yep.
Uh,
And I think I don't know. That shit's locked in.
yep, exactly. Let's move on to the next one. We got the Rams Titans game. What I have to say about this one is the Rams. I think people are sleeping on. They had a very young core that at the beginning of last year were trying to find themselves, and they slowly found their identity towards the end. And you guys have to remember that this Rams team is the only team that I believe gave the Eagles a run for their money in the playoff run. Right. So I expect them to go into this game and just dominate. Realistically speaking, right? We saw what the Broncos were able to do to Cam, right? And he's a rookie, right? Not saying he sucks. He's just a rookie that he just got bad luck and has to play two elite defenses back to back,
I thought
right?
you were gonna say bad luck and play on the Titans.
I mean, that's one. It's really not that bad. Pollard's not bad. He has some
Yeah,
receivers there.
he's
He could have
solid.
been, yeah, he could have been in a worse position to be like with the Giants or something. you know,
Hey, Malik
no,
though.
no. There's other options. There's other teams that could have been worse, right? Like honestly, probably the Browns because they just suck at you know getting their quarterbacks to a solid position in their careers.
Yeah.
But Cam Ward, we have something for him. Let me see if we can pull it up real quick. I believe it's his completions under.
Yep. Under
Um,
18 and a half completions.
yep. And then we paired that with. If you can get these lines, by the way, individually, we highly recommend it. Right. Unfortunately, due to some of the places that we live, we just can't do DraftKings, FanDuel, things of that nature. So we have to pair them with things um, with other picks. But we like his under on that. Um, and do we have another one for this one? Oh,
Yeah.
we have verse.
Yep.
If you want to touch on that one,
Yeah. Jared Verse over half a sack. Titans gave up 6 sacks last week, so kind of looking to build up on that. And I know he'll get a lot of looks from that O line when they line up. but I think he can get there one time, especially if they're playing with a lead.
Yep.
So I think that one's pretty good. And then with the Cam Ward, like you were saying, we paired that with
With Kyron, we paired it
Kyron.
with Kyron,
Yeah,
over 70 rush yards, right? This kind of just goes into the whole. We expect the Rams to have a lead in this game, and going into the fourth, just burn clock like most teams will, and hand off the ball to Kyron or the running back. Uh, Kyron just eats. You know what I mean? He eats. He's one of the better backs, and so it's. I think it's a good pair. Keep it isolated to just this game, not have to stretch out to other games that are coming up, right?
yeah, that one
So
feels
not
pretty
too much.
good.
Yeah, not too much to talk about that game. It's pretty one-sided, unfortunately. So moving on to the Seahawks Steelers game. We don't really know what to take of this one, right? We saw Aaron Rodgers come out and just really control that offense. It seems like he's more comfortable with the Steelers right off the bat. He has a lot of options. He's making some of the not so common names shine, right? And then we have a Seahawks offense that just it. I mean, yes, Sam Darnold did great with the Vikings, but he just does. He didn't look comfortable, I guess, is the best way to put it, with the Seahawks. Um, and then I like the Seahawks, but their defense is just. I think it's an imposter, pretty much, right? Like they play mediocre to bad teams, and they look great. And then when they actually play a good team, they reveal themselves where the weaknesses are, right? And I
Yeah,
think this is going to be one of those spots where the Steelers have a lot of options, right? They're going to focus on DK with the homecoming game, right? Or I guess in this case, it's not a homecoming, but it's facing his former team, so a lot of attention is going to be on DK, and you're going to see Austin shine. You're going to see some of the other guys shine, right? They're going to be left wide open, I think. So,
yeah, I think maybe a DK touchdown could be in the cards, but
yeah,
we're playing Calvin Austin over
yep.
38 and a half receiving yards.
He had
Uh,
great connection with Aaron Rodgers last week, and the fact that this line is this low, I mean, I think it's a steal
for sure. It should be in the 40s at least.
at least. But the fact that you can get on a sleeper for 38 and a half is kind of gross, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we paired that with Moore, which we'll kind of touch on a little later, once we get to that Bears game. But we do think that Austin is probably the best value in that Steelers Seahawks game.
Yeah, and we are playing one other line on it. It's kind of nasty, but it was too good to pass up. Cooper Cup over
Yep.
31 and a half receiving yards.
Yep. This
Not
is the
not
guy who,
not much to say. And
yeah, we're gonna try to keep it short on this one because it's a guy who used to average 70 yards with the Steelers, or with the Rams, and obviously he had his injuries, but 31 and a half. I mean, you
yeah,
kind of have to take it, right? Especially when in the parlay where you can throw $5, $10 on it and triple your money. And we paired that with Fant, right? You can get that on Sleeper for 2.5 receptions on Fant, which we kind of talked about how he had the most targets and whatnot. So um, I really like that combination. I think that the value's there for those two.
it's spicy.
It is. It really is. uh, Going on to the Browns Ravens game. Uh, you can go ahead and talk about the parlays that we have, and I'll just end with my take on it.
This it's gonna be an interesting game to say the least. Uh, I'm gonna start off with another defensive prop. Ronnie Hickman under 6.5 tackles and assists. Uh, he's never hit this line.
Yeah,
Uh, he saw more snaps last week than he did at any point last year, but it's against a tough matchup in the Ravens. Um, so I'm playing the odds on that. He hasn't done it before. Let's see him do it before we switch our tune. And then back to what I was saying earlier, Cedric Tillman, maybe my favorite prop of the week. We've got
Yeah,
him at over 42.5 yards on Prize Picks.
which is
Uh,
nasty.
yeah, I'm slamming that, doubling
We have
down,
in
triple
2 or 3
down.
different bets. Yep, it's disgusting. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm not gonna fade Judy, but after what I saw last week, I don't think it looks too great. And
Well,
then
Judy looks like he did when he was with the Broncos when there was all that drama with Russell where they couldn't catch a
yep,
ball. You know what I mean? And so
mm-hmm,
that's the Judy that we saw last week. And so it just looked like Flacco was way more comfortable with Fannin and Tillman. And that's literally where all their yards came from.
yeah,
And week one you kind of want to be safe and go with the names that Njoku, Judy, things of that nature. And we got burned. Let's just keep it real. We got burned on those.
yep.
So
And that's why like we alluded to, we're playing Fannin over 34.5 receiving yards as well, because
yep,
those feel like the safest bets. I mean, Samson did his thing. I know Judkins is coming back probably this week, but Fannin over 34.5 receiving yards seems pretty easy, and we're pairing that with a alternate passing yards line on Lamar Jackson to hit 200.
yep,
So
yep. Good value.
yeah, that's a
Um,
that's a cash money play.
exactly.
Milk,
And
milk money.
to milk money and to bring you some more hot takes on this, right? Uh, Obviously the Browns are known for being the Browns, but for some reason when they play the Ravens, it seems like they show the fuck up, right? If you look at the stats, the last 4 games, it's been split 2-2. The last 6 games, 3-3, right? But if you go over to DraftKings, you can get that line, you can get the money line for plus 600, right? So, not saying I'm doing this, but I might be doing this. Is I'm putting a little bit of money on, I'm sprinkling, right? A little bit of money on that Browns money line because I don't know what it is, but the Browns and the Bills have the Ravens number, right? And if history shows a 3-3, a 2-2, then this line should be plus 200, plus 300, not plus 600. So there's massive value in sprinkling a couple bucks into the Browns money line just in case they win, right? Because statistically speaking, they've won one of the 2 games the last 3 years.
Yep,
So why not?
50%.
50%, that's all you need. It's a 50-50 shot, right? So aside from that, it's yeah, that's about it. That's all we got for that game. Um, and with the matchup after that, we're just going kind of down the list. 49ers Saints. Personally, I have one pick on this game. I think we both have one pick on this game. And aside from that, it's not a game that we would touch, even spread over, under, none of that, right? Because just a little update if you haven't heard, Brock Purdy's out. Trent Williams is questionable, potentially out. Jennings out, right?
Kittle
Kittle out,
out.
you know. So you got what's his name? Mac Jones leading the offense with McCaffrey
Yep,
into a
MJ12
yeah, MJ12
or M
into a
or was it
Spencer
MJ10?
Rattler.
MJ10. Yeah, he's Mac 10. What am I saying?
Mac 10 right into a Rattler off ran offense and Olave, receiving core. Like, if you want to throw something on it, sure, but we're pretty much avoiding everything. We did see Pearsall, right? We like him, and we put that into a 3-piece bet. 3-piece chicken nugget bet.
Hell yeah.
Uh, let me see what I have it right here.
Yeah, that
So
between this and Tillman, those are my favorite two lines we've got this week.
yeah, He burned the. I mean, again, it's one of those guys that it looked like Purdy was super comfortable with. If you look back into, and this is a great point that my boy brought up, right? If you look back into when Mac Jones took over for Lawrence after that hit, right? The targets towards the wide receiver one on the team significantly outmatched everybody else. And in this case, Pearsall is going to be that WR1, right? And the fact that you can catch him on prize picks for 40 yards, buddy, give me that all day.
Yeah.
you know? So we paired that up with the Tillman, 40 yards, 42 and a half, right? And then we went ahead and got a Green Goblin on a 2.5 receptions for Jonnu Smith.
Yep.
Um, and we liked this so much that we did a Red Goblin on that mother trucker. So go ahead and talk about that one, man.
I got a little ahead of myself on this one, but all these props hit week 1. So you got Cedric Tillman over 49.5 yards, Pearsall over 64.5, and Jonnu over 4.5 receptions. So this would have hit last week. It's a 3-piece, but it's a 10xer. Yep.
It's a 10xer, right? And the whole idea behind this, right, is we have a essentially a Green Goblin 3-piece that if you take the profits from that one, you still have some money left over, and you can use the profits from there to pay for the 10x.
Yep.
Right. That's the whole idea behind it. Now, in these situations, you obviously want to have bankroll management, right? You don't want to put a lot of money on one because you are double dipping at this point. So, just play responsibly. So, with that being said, we're going to skip through the 49ers Saints game. We're going to go into the Giants Cowboys game, which is not much better.
Yeah, skip right through it.
Yeah, skip right through it. We have a couple of them. We like Javonte Williams on this one. His rush attempts for the yardage posted is kind of gross. So we took a little jab at it. We took a 14.5 rush attempts, right? And the idea behind it is that the Cowboys should have a lead in this game going into the fourth, right? And obviously, once you have a lead in the fourth, you just want to run out the clock. Also, the Cowboys don't really have a RB2.
Yep,
They got Sanders.
He fumbled week 1, and I mean Javonte. Yeah. I think he'll grind out the carries. He just hasn't. We haven't seen him be efficient since he destroyed his knee. So
Exactly.
That's the argument for rush attempts instead of yards here.
Yep. But and what we like about the rush attempts is it doesn't matter if he gets 2 yards, 1 yard, right? Going into the fourth quarter, it's about time, right? It's about making the other team use their timeouts, and so he hit 15 the first week with the Cowboys in a game where the Cowboys didn't have a single. I mean, they weren't leading in that game for most of the game, if at all. Right. And now you're talking about going with the Giants, who, yes, I know it's a divisional game, but the Cowboys should not have an issue closing this game out, right?
Yeah.
And it's the other one that we really like that we should mention at least is CeeDee Lamb. He had a couple drops. I think this is going to be a good a revenge game for him. The media just blasted him on the amount of money that he's making and dropping the ball. He could have won the game for them. So, he's hit this. He's 4 for 4. I know the line's high, but he's been over 100 yards in all 4 games, essentially. So, with that being said, we're actually going to skip through the Patriots and Dolphins game. This is disgusting.
Yep.
There's nothing there that I want, man. Yeah, skip right along. I don't even want to justify why we're skipping along that game. If you're a Dolphins fan or Patriots fan, you should definitely understand that the Dolphins have no defense and the Patriots should be better, but they look like shit against the Raiders team without Bowers for a while.
Yep.
So yeah. Let's go to the Bills and Jets game.
And we're gonna skip
uh,
this one too.
Pretty much, yeah. And it's not because we think this is going to be a shit game. It's just you have to be smart in the first couple weeks of football, right? If you're going to be placing any types of bets. The Jets, sure, they look great. But aside from Garrett Wilson and, you know, Fields looking good and Brees Hall, like there's not much of that offense. And you try to find something on the Bills side, and it's like, okay, well, Shakir was their wide receiver one last year, but then we go to that Ravens game and look like Coleman was their wide receiver one.
Yep.
Are we going to put our money on Coleman right now?
Yeah.
Um,
And then you've got James Cook that came out of last week's game banged up. So you don't really know
Banged
how
up,
much work he's gonna get.
juiced. Those lines are juiced, right? Um, and yeah, we just you can throw some money on Cook, I guess. You can throw some money on Coleman, I guess. But it's this is one of those things where it's like, I let's see how the Jets do after week 3. If there's some consistency in the yardage, the points scored, the touchdowns, then maybe we can get behind it. But there's no reason to go hard in the paint right now
Yep.
in week 2. So that's why we didn't really do too much on this one.
It's a long season.
It's a long season, and honestly, you can say the same thing about this next matchup, the Bears and Lions. You have the Lions who got destroyed by the Packers, right? And we know that the Lions slip up every now and then, and we've come to find out that the Packers are the real deal here, right?
Yep.
But they're facing a Bears team that I was kind of confident in, right? Caleb Boone was supposed to look better the year 2, and he did for a quarter.
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah. Quarter.
looked great. Yeah, that game, numbers wise looked close, but you're talking about a crunch time TD and a pick six for 76 yards. You take those two things away, and it's the Vikings won by 3, by 2 scores, 3 scores.
Yep. The Bears just
So
stalled out hard after those first
yeah,
couple drives.
yeah. As a Vikings fan, I was like, oh my god, the Bears have our number, but they didn't do anything. They just let the Vikings come back in and steal that game. So we look back, and I look back at the game. I was like, hey, Odunze looked like he had a great game. And then we looked at the stats, and he only had like 30 plus yards, but he didn't even clear the line.
Nope.
So we couldn't go down that route. So the safest bet that we found on this one was Moore's receptions. Right, he didn't hit it last game. He had the opportunities. Looking back at it, he had that hard hit in the fourth quarter, and he had that overthrown ball by Williams. He had the opportunities to have those 5 receptions. So we're going to go back to that because even with last week's miss, it's still an 80% hit rate over the last 10.
Yep.
So
And
we'll
they're
take
just
more.
trying to keep him involved in the offense too. And I feel
Yeah,
like that kind of alludes. There's one other line um, on the Bears side that we've got, and it kind of ties together. It was DeAndre Swift under 15 and a half rush attempts. And this goes back to last year where he had 11 and 9 carries versus the Lions. Lions have a pretty good run defense, and I mean we saw DJ Moore take some snaps in the backfield. We saw the rookie take some snaps, and then Roschon Johnson's coming back this week. So
he's come back.
he's
Yep.
gonna mix into the fold too. So I mean, if we think they're not going to win this game and they've got 4 guys taking snaps back there,
Four guys
it
taking
feels like a
snaps.
fade. Yeah, it feels like a fade on Swift.
You have a mobile quarterback, right?
Yep.
And even though the Lions looked horrible, they should they should have the lead most of the game. So the Bears won't be running the ball to burn clock,
Yeah.
right? And the reason why we don't have something on the lines is we sat down, we looked at all these lines. It's like, well, who is it going to be this week? Is it going to be Laporta? Is it going to be St. Brown, Williams, Gibbs? Who's going to be the star that's going to clear this big line? And honestly, it's not really worth trying to guess and gamble on those. So we just said, you know what? Let's just not touch this, especially after last week's performance.
Yep.
So that's how we feel about that game. We don't feel too great about the following game either. Panthers versus Cardinals. Correct me if I'm wrong, but do we have anything for these two?
It was Kyler Murray rushing
Tyler, right?
yards.
Just the one, yeah.
That's it.
And that's just yep, and that's based off of the fact that he wants to run more this year. um, and he did show it in the Saints game.
Yeah.
So we felt like this was the safest option.
That's exposure.
Yep, pretty much. um, Broncos and Colts, probably the nastiest line of them all.
I don't know how much you guys know about defensive tackles, but uh, someone we paired with Jared Verse just to keep things on that side of the ball. Grover Stewart, he's a
Yep,
DT on the Colts. We're taking over 1.5 assisted tackles, and
yep,
he hits this line consistently. You know, Denver likes controlling the clock, running the ball, so I I think he should get there pretty easily, and you can get it plus money. So
yeah. And then the other one that we looked at, and I mean, it's gross. It's not the prettiest line. You're gonna be like, what the heck is this? But it's Daniel Jones under 12 and a half longest rush yards. I mean, first of all, this guy's a quarterback. He's not a running back, right? He's hit this twice in the last 10 games. If you want to go back to 2024 all season, he hit this again twice in 10 games. um, yeah, I mean, after week one's performance, this Colts team is a team that has a lot of options. Obviously, we saw the rookie Warren go off in that game, right? You have Jonathan Taylor, you have Pittman Jr. who caught a touchdown. You have Pierce who made some gnarly catches as well. So it's one of those things where you just like who's going to get the ball, or are they all going to get the ball?
yep.
And if they are going to get the ball, this line is too inflated. So the best thing we were able to find for this game was that specifically where it's Daniel Jones' longest rush yards. Um, yeah,
Between Daniel Jones and Grover Stewart, you've got yourself a nice couple lines for a parlay.
yep, exactly. And on the Broncos side, I mean, there's not much. Bo Nix is very inconsistent when it comes to numbers. Not saying his play is inconsistent, but he's a hit or miss, 50%, right? And so it's just like there's not really much else on that team that we can really reliably place bets on.
Yeah.
Um, Moving on to a better game in the second to last game is the Chiefs and Eagles. Right, this should be a great matchup. This is a Super Bowl rematch essentially,
Yep.
and
And we we're looking into our crystal ball on this one.
that's the best way to put it, honestly. This is I can call this probably the bet of the night, right?
Yep.
If you go on Sleeper, you can get a multiplier for Hurts' rushing yards. Okay, it's at 41.5. Now, if you pair that with the Saquon Barkley under 86.5 yards, you sprinkle a little bit of an AJ Brown under 72.5 receiving yards. And you're like, for the fun of it, let's just throw uh, Smith Schuster in there for over 30 yards. You get a 10x pick, right?
Yep.
And I think this is a viable play here, right? You're talking about a Chiefs team. Let's just start off with the easy one, right? The Chiefs team who doesn't have Xavier Worthy. They don't have Rasheed Rice, right? And obviously, we all know Kelsey has been kind of falling off slowly. They have Thornton, who's kind of filling in for Xavier Worthy on the big plays. That leaves them with Smith Schuster to kind of do all the work, all the dirty work, right? And so the fact that you can get his line for 30 yards is kind of gross.
Yeah, it is.
And it kind of leads me into AJ Brown, who he's a first round pick in some fantasy leagues. He's a second round pick in some of these fantasy leagues. And he went last week with 0 yards or something close to that. But he's still projected for 72.5 yards. This is the gamble right here, right? Because we all know that AJ Brown can go off one day and sleep the next. But for 72 yards when he has a 30-40% hit rate on that, dude, I'll take that all day.
Yeah.
Right. And then you put me on these last two, so I'll let you explain the Barkley and Hurts one.
Well, I think with Saquon, you just look at his efficiency versus the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. I mean, this Chiefs run D, we know it's been good. They look good week 1 against the Chargers. The rookie Hampton couldn't really get anything going on him.
Just talking about him.
Yep. Everyone had high hopes, but Chiefs run D is legit. So that's why we're looking at under 86.5 rush yards on Saquon.
You have
And
Jones, Tranquil. You have all these guys on defense that can make plays.
yeah.
It's.
And he can still get there in the receiving game. I mean, 86.5 is still, it's a lot of yards on the ground. And then pairing that Jalen Hurts over 41.5 with the boost. I think he got about 70 yards in the Super Bowl rushing. And it was just kind of one of those things where one of us thought AJ Brown was a good fade. The other thought Saquon was a good fade. Jokingly, you look to Jalen Hurts and you see maybe you got something with this because all three of these Eagles lines hit in the Super Bowl exactly how we have it picked out here.
Yep. And I mean, the only person that's really left out on this is Devontae Smith, but I mean, whatever. So,
Yep.
aside from that, if you can take some of these lines individually, that we feel strongly about them either way.
Yeah.
But to wrap up, the Sunday games, we have the Falcons and the Vikings, which, should be a great game, especially for a primetime game. The Falcons are coming off of a rough loss against the Bucks on that missed field goal. The Vikings are coming off of a fourth quarter rally victory against the Bears. This is going to be a great, game for McCarthy to, show that he's able to carry this momentum and this confidence into a new game. But the Falcons, I mean, you look at that roster and they're a playoff team. They
Yeah.
should be a playoff team, right? It's very rare that you're able to get a top 3 running back, and then you have the receiving core that they have. So for this specific matchup, we actually have something on the Viking side, and it goes by the name of Jordan Mason, All right, and the thought process behind this is if you look at the stats, not only did Jordan Mason outperform Jones when he was on the field, but he also had more snap shares towards the end, right? And I think that's a small indication of, hey, maybe Mason's going to be our RB1 and is going to start taking over a majority of the workload, and then we're just going to let old man Jones, you know,
He was wide
do
receiver
what he got to
three.
do. Pretty much. I mean, he's one of the reasons why they got back into that game. He caught that 30-yard touchdown
Yep.
pass. You know what I mean? So we're taking Mason on over rush attempts.
Yep. Over 11 and a half rush attempts.
Kind of gross. So we took that and then we paired it with sorry, I don't even oh yeah. So we actually paired that one with the Daniel Jones longest rush of 12 and a half. And then again, like we talked about earlier, we feel super confident with the Cedric Tillman bet. So we just threw that in there for extra value. You don't have to keep it to Jones and Mason, which is probably the safest bet. But yeah, that's all I have for that game. Do you want to add anything to it?
Yeah. Honorable mention. We haven't put anything in for it yet, but Drake London, his targets line, it seems high at 9.5, but since Penix became quarterback, he's averaging about 13 targets a game. So I think that's an interesting one to watch if you want to pair that with Mason as well. But
Yep.
that's pretty much it on that.
Yep. And then we have one of those weeks where we have two Monday night games. We'll try to put something out for that specific slate. There's a couple things that I like in that game. There's some spreads that I like in that one. I actually took the Chargers -3 on the Raiders already, and I'll kind of go into that a little bit whenever we record that video. But yeah, that's a not so brief summary on Sunday night's takes or Sunday games takes, um, and what we think is probably the best value out there, whether you're parlaying or single betting on these games.
Yeah, and like you mentioned earlier, if you can single bet these, by all means, we recommend it.
Yep.
It just it makes more sense to do it that way.
Yep. And outliers, I mean, while we were going through these, outliers are a great source to be able to find the best lines. I mean, we were like, oh yeah, we really like this one at this yardage, and then we look at the alternate lines, and we found, one book had 3 yards less for a better, profit value. So if you're able to do that, it's highly recommended.
Yep, you got to shop the best line.
Yep. And Outlier really helped us out with that. So um, we're gonna try to do this every week. We're probably not gonna do video like we did last year. We're gonna keep it mostly to voice, recordings. We're gonna try to start up our Spotify. We'll try to upload it up to YouTube, see what's the most efficient way, and we'll be uploading this to our TikTok as well. So if you guys just want to give us a follow, get it up to date, as we were making these videos, as we were going through the video, we saw lines change 3-4 yards. So, sometimes to get the best value, you got to get that early.
Yep, so we'll be consistent on getting our props out there for whoever wants to see it and cash out on that milk money, get that formula money, you know what I mean?
Inflation has not slowed down.
No, it hasn't.
Yeah. So, we should probably cook up a touchdown parlay because that hit big last year, dude. I mean, what was it like $800, $900 payout for like $10?
I think it was. I think it was
That
seven entry for like 100x.
yeah. So we'll get something like that out. You know, we put out DGen bet of the day for us. Um, but like I said, give us a follow. You know, check in constantly, see if we put anything out. And yeah, that's all I got.
There we go.
Y'all have a great Sunday and bet responsibly.
Call
Uh,
call the hotline.